Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Vishnu Bhavan Subhadaraj Sto Jai Jai Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasita Prabhupada ki Go Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 13, The Behavior of a Perfect Person, Text 32. Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Sarvato vivishankinam. Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Vaishnavis.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Pashyami dhaninam klesham.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Lubdhanam ajitatmanam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Bayad alabda nidranam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Sarvato vivishankinam.
Pashyami.
Pashyami.
I can practically see
I can practically see
dhaninam of persons who are very rich.
the persons who are very rich.
Klesham,
Klesham.
the miseries.
The miseries.
Lubdhanam,
Lubdhanam.
who are extremely greedy.
Who are extremely greedy.
Ajita atmanam,
Ajitatmanam.
who are victims of their senses.
Who are victims of their senses.
Bayat,
Bayat.
because of fear.
Because of fear.
Alabda nidranam,
Alabda nidranam.
who are suffering from insomnia.
Who are suffering from insomnia.
Sarvata,
Sarvata.
from all sides.
From all sides.
Abhishankanam,
Abhishankinam.
being particularly afraid.
Being particularly afraid.
Purport. Greedy capitalists accumulate wealth
Translation.
under thank you. The Brahmana continued, I am actually seeing how a rich man who is a victim of his senses is very greedy to accumulate wealth and therefore suffers from insomnia due to fear from all sides despite his wealth and opulence. Purport. Thank you. Greedy capitalists accumulate wealth under so many miserable conditions. The result being that because they collect money by questionable means, their minds are always agitated. Thus, they're unable to sleep at night, and they may have to take pills for mental tranquility to invite sleep. And sometimes even the pills are a failure. Consequently, the result of having accumulated money by so much labor is certainly not happiness, but only distress. What is the value of acquiring a comfortable position if one's mind is always disturbed? Narottama Das Thakur has therefore sung, Samsara Vishanale, Diban Rishi Hiya Dwelle, Judayate na Kaino Upai. I am suffering from the poisonous effect of material enjoyment. Thus my heart is always burning and is almost on the verge of failure. The result of greedy capitalists' unnecessary accumulation of wealth is that he must suffer from a blazing fire of anxiety and always be concerned with how to save his money and invest it properly to get more and more. Such a life is certainly not very happy, but because of the spell of the illusory energy, materialistic persons engage in such activities. As far as our Krishna consciousness movement is concerned, we are getting money naturally by the grace of God by selling our literature. This literature is not sold for our sense gratification. To spread the Krishna consciousness movement, we need so many things, and Krishna is therefore supplying us the requisite money to advance this mission. The mission of Krishna is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, and for this purpose, we naturally must have sufficient money. Therefore, according to the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, we should not give up attachment to money that can spread the Krishna consciousness movement. Srila Rupa Goswami says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Prapanchikateya Bhujya Hari Sambandhi Vastuna Mumukshipi Parityago Vairagyam Balgu Katyate. When persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things which are related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, though they are material, this is called incomplete renunciation. Money that can help in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement is not a part of the material world. And we should not give it up, thinking that it is material. Srila Rupa Goswami advises, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Upayunjataha Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Money is undoubtedly coming in great quantities, but we should not be attached to this money for sense gratification. Every cent should be spent for spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, not for sense gratification. There is danger for a preacher when he receives great quantities of money, for as soon as he spends even a single cent of the collection for his personal gratification, he becomes a fallen victim. The preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement should be extremely careful not to misuse the immense quantities of money needed to spread this movement. Let us not make this money the cause of our distress. It should be used for Krishna, and that will cause our eternal happiness. Money is Lakshmi, or the goddess of fortune, the companion of Narayana. Lakshmiji must always remain with Narayana, and then there need be no fear of degradation. Translation again. The Brahmana continued, I am actually seeing how a rich man, who is a victim of his senses, is very greedy to accumulate wealth, and therefore suffers from insomnia due to fear from all sides, despite his wealth and opulence. Om Agana Chiranandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In 5 verses in this chapter, we hear a dissection of the mirage known as material happiness. And this is presented very scientifically. That as soon as you endeavor for your own material happiness, you are immediately under the control of material nature, under the spell of material nature. It's a very interesting expression used by Srila Prabhupada. You can just imagine a sorcerer or a witch casting a spell on you. And then you become completely disorientated and you accept what is unreal as real. Under the spell of material nature, we cannot see our real self-interest. We're blinded, especially when ajitat manam, when we are a victim of our senses. The senses have conquered us instead of our conquering the senses. It may seem difficult to conquer the senses because we have a taste for material indulgence that's lingering in our consciousness. The only solution is to increase the taste of bhakti. Otherwise, it's not possible to get out from the grip of the material flavors, because we want flavors, we want relish, we want to enjoy, but we don't know how to enjoy. And to admit that requires great humility. Even you can be beat up by material nature again and again, but still we persist. As Shukadeva Goswami speaks at the beginning of the 2nd canto, Pashyan api na pashyati. You see, but you don't see. This is the power of the illusory energy. It makes you wonder, what am I up against? Can I deal with it? Can I handle it? The illusion is so intense. That's why Krishna himself says, Daiviyesha gunamayi mamaya duratyaya. You can't beat this material energy of mine, Krishna says. You can only overcome it if you do things my way. And that is the story of bhakti, doing things Krishna's way. Otherwise, this lingering flavor for material indulgence of whatever type is very hard to suppress. It's very hard to get rid of. Because we are by nature pleasure-seeking, but we don't know what is real pleasure. And again, to admit that we don't know what is real pleasure requires real humility. So when you read that bhakti is the property of those who have no material hopes, no material assets, it means particularly whether you're well off financially or not, it means you have abandoned the hope for material fulfillment. Akinchana, one who doesn't possess anything in this world, doesn't mean you have to go around in rags and sleep on the street. It means you have no ambition for material happiness. Then what do? People wonder. If we drop our ambition for success in this world, we'll just become lazy, we'll do nothing, we'll be complete failures. But bhakti is dynamic. It's all about using our senses to please Krishna's senses. To advance in bhakti, we need to know about Krishna's pleasure, because we are tiny samples of Krishna, and Krishna is the ocean of variegated pleasure. So the more we understand how Krishna enjoys, the more we're going to be attracted to Krishna, and we'll diminish our focus on our own so-called enjoyment. We become fascinated. How is Krishna being happy? How is Krishna enjoying? And then there may be a fear. What about me? It's great that I recognize Krishna's enjoyment, but what about me? But the more you recognize Krishna's enjoyment, the more you advance in your own enjoyment without even worrying about it. This is the bhakti mystery. It seems like you're forgetting all about yourself. No, you're forgetting all about your illusory self. But we're so attached to that illusory self. As I was explaining last night for the crowd of new persons. You've got the ecological self. You've got the societal self. You've got the temporal self extended into the past and into the future. You've got the private self, and then you've got the conceptual self. All the concepts downloaded into you since birth. So yes, you want to lose all that. But you'll fight back. You'll be resistant to Krishna's proposition unless you have higher experience. And higher experience means to understand Krishna's enjoyment. Because Krishna is the unlimited ocean of real enjoyment, Rasa Vaisa. So you begin to start thinking about Krishna enjoying on the bank of the Yamuna, just like with the cowherd boys. Krishna would point to a particular spot on the bank of the Yamuna. We're singing every morning, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Krishna enjoying in the forest and the Yamuna River. So Krishna, he knows the best spots, although everything in his abode is perfect, still there's variegatedness. It's hard for us to understand. If the spiritual world, if the Loka Vrindavan is perfect in every aspect, then how could one spot on the Yamuna be better than another? But this is the mystery of the spiritual world. There's sweet, sweeter, and sweetest. But there's nothing wrong with what's just sweet. And no matter where you're situated in the spiritual world, no matter what kind of relationship with Krishna you have, you think it's the best. So Krishna can pick out a spot on the Yamuna River. This is the best place for our pastimes, for our Gopa Lila, a cowherd boy pastimes. Look at the sand, nice and soft. Smell the fragrance blown by the wind, the fragrance of lotus flowers. Feel the cool breezes, the breezes sprinkled with moisture drops from the Yamuna River. Hear the sounds of the bees and the birds. This spot is perfect for what we do. And what do cowherd boys do? They wrestle, they fight, mock fighting. They eat, they dance. All this on the bank of the Yamuna River. That's during the day. And then at night, the bank of the Yamuna River assumes another pastime of Krishna and his cowherd girlfriends. But we're so envious. We think, how can Krishna have girlfriends? Although everyone in the material world wants a submissive, pleasing partner, when you read that Krishna has that, you wonder, how can that be God? The only reason why we want a nice, romantic situation is because we're part of Krishna, and Krishna has it all, unlimitedly. So during the day on the bank of the Yamuna, he's sporting with his cowherd boys, having lunch pastimes especially. Those lunch pastimes are so intimate, so sweet, that even Brahma becomes bewildered by seeing them. Is this really my worshipable Lord? Laughing and joking with cowherd boys? They're seated on the bank of the Yamuna in lines. And they use so many articles from nature as their plates for their lunch. They use rocks, they use flowers. And they're all looking at Krishna. So how can they all be the center for Krishna's glance? That is Krishna's mystic potency. Now all the cowherd boys, no matter where they're situated in the ranks lined up around Krishna, they all think, they all know Krishna is looking especially at me. So sometimes we wonder, Krishna is dealing with infinite devotees. How will Krishna ever know how I feel? How will Krishna ever arrange for me? I remember when I first started reading Krishna book, 1972. And I was reading about the spiritual world, Krishna's pastimes. And I thought to myself, I better hurry up and get there before it becomes overcrowded. Everyone who reads it is going to want to go there. So, that's New Yorker consciousness. You know, you always are aware of peak time traffic in the subways and on the roads, and where all the crowds are and how to avoid them. So I apply that New Yorker consciousness to Krishna Lila. Wow, this is amazing. It's going to become overcrowded soon. I better hurry up and get there. I don't want to be caught in peak time traffic. So Krishna can make every cowherd boy think, I'm looking especially at you, you're number one. No matter where the cowherd boy is situated. And then they would have lunch bag stealing pastimes. One cowherd boy would steal the lunch bag of another cowherd boy. And then the cowherd boy whose bag was stolen would try to get his bag back. And the cowherd boy thief would just toss it to another cowherd boy further away. And this would just go on and on and on. Finally, the bereft cowherd boy would start crying. And the other cowherd boys would laugh and say, all right, here's your lunch. Or they would agitate, the thieves would agitate the situation even more by when the cowherd boy is pleading, give me my lunch back, please, give me my lunch bag. Okay, here it is. They would take the lunch bag and put it at the base of a tree that's surrounded by thorns and red ants. So all this is going on, especially on days when Krishna calls for a picnic. So everything is there in the Supreme. Dancing, romancing, and picnics too. Just like when the weather is nice, everyone comes here and has prasad on the grass, seated outside. So Krishna is the best at picnics. He's not simply the best at rasa dancing. Everything is there in Krishna. He makes plans for picnics. Why does the Supreme Personality of Godhead have to make a plan? For fun. Just like you can see in yourself. Even though you're oppressed by material nature, you're dominated by material nature at every step. Still, you like to make plans for your own pleasure. I'll do this, I'll do that, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do that. It's going to be great. You think like that, you plan like that, because you're part of Krishna. So why do you fault Krishna for making plans for his pleasure and for the pleasure of the cowherd boys? The cowherd boys know his pleasure is our pleasure. So Krishna makes plans the day before. We're not coming home for lunch. Pack a lunch, and we'll have it out in the forest. So Krishna wakes up the next morning. He washes his face. Wait a minute, he's the supreme pure. Why does he wash his face? For fun. How does Krishna become cleaner? He's infinitely clean, but still, to please his mother, Mother Yashoda, he washes his face. She's always concerned. He plays in the forest so long, he's covered with dust particles. I need to feed him, I need to bathe him. So Krishna plays along with that for the sake of his devotees. So he wakes up in the morning, takes off his night clothes, washes his face, and dresses attractively, and then goes to the door of his house and blows his bugle. And the bugle makes such a beautiful sound. And the cowherd boys, they've already been tipped off. Today is picnic day. So they all emerge from their houses hearing the beautiful sound of Krishna's bugle. And the cowherd boys have their own bugles. Each cowherd boy has a stick for controlling the herd. Each cowherd boy has a bugle. Each cowherd boy has a flute. And each cowherd boy has a lunch bag. So they emerge from their various houses. And, of course, they're going to the forest with their calves. So countless cowherd boys emerge with countless calves. You wonder, how does all that fit in Vrindavan? But Vrindavan is not bound by time and space. And then Krishna, he enters the scene with all his calves, which are totally unlimited. And this is not the extent of all the cows and bulls in Vrindavan. These cowherd boys, this is before Gopashtami, when Krishna is responsible for grown-up cows. This is before that. Now he's just taking care of the calves with his fellow cowherd boys. So you're not getting a count of all the creatures in Braj. You're just hearing about the calves, and they're unlimited. What about the mother cows? What about the older calves? What about the bulls? You don't hear about them. So it's all unlimited the more you think about it. Your mind can't handle all of it. So then they all head to the forest with Krishna. And as they enter the forest with Krishna, they start decorating themselves with forest minerals, leaves from the forest, even though their mothers had already decorated them with gold and pearl. Gold and pearls. Still, the cowherd boys like the natural ornaments that are available in the forest. Powders made from minerals, leaves from the plants and trees, berries. So in this way, they enjoy life with Krishna. So it seems that the cowherd boys think of themselves when they announce to Krishna, "We are hungry." But no, because Krishna is the center of all real happiness, the cowherd boys are thinking, Krishna and we have been playing for a long time. Krishna must be hungry. But in order to get Krishna to eat, we have to say to him, "We are hungry." So they make that famous presentation to Krishna. Rama Rama Mahabaho, Krishna Drishta Nirvahan. Oh, mighty arm Ram. They first appeal to Balaram because they think Krishna likes that etiquette. If we honor Balaram, his 2-week elder. Balaram precedes Krishna by a couple of weeks. So we'll first address Balaram. Rama Rama Mahabaho. Oh, mighty arm, Balaram. And then Krishna Drishta Nirbahana. Oh, Krishna, destroyer of mischievous elements, demoniac elements. We have a new demon for you to destroy. What is that? We're hungry. If you can destroy so many demons, surely you can handle the demon of our hunger. So you might say, aha, they're being selfish, or they're being normal, just like we would. Krishna, when are you going to feed us? When's the pizza party? But the cowherd boys are simply thinking of Krishna and his satisfaction. We've got to get Krishna to eat. So we'll tell him that we're hungry. And as you know, in one particular instance of that, Krishna told them, you'll get food by approaching these brahmanas who are performing yajna nearby. They're doing a fire sacrifice for going to the heavenly planets. That's their trip. That's their thing. Don't expect much from these brahmanas, but still go to them and ask. But you'd better not first mention my name, because these brahmanas are so ritualistic. They're in such caste consciousness that they think Krishna, he's just a Vaishya. He's just a farmer, the son of a Vaishya. So Krishna told them, say Balaram's name first, because Balaram, everyone knows, is born of a Kshatriya, Vasudeva. So that's what the cowherd boys intended to do. And as they approached the yajna site, where the brahmanas are doing rituals to go to the heavenly planets, they can smell the food that's ready to be taken and distributed from the yajna. And they start salivating. Ooh. Is that being selfish? They're simply thinking, oh, we're going to eat the food, it's going to taste so good. No, why are they salivating? They're thinking, this is going to be wonderful for Krishna. When Krishna tastes such tasty food, we'll be happy. So that is life in Vrindavan. Krishna is always in the center. So then, as you know, these brahmanas didn't even give the cowherd boys an answer. They just disregarded the cowherd boys. So the cowherd boys, they had made such a devotional presentation. They had done full dandavats on the ground in front of the brahmanas, called them, oh, Bhumi Deva, oh, earthly gods. We are here to get food for Krishna. The brahmanas totally disregarded them. The cowherd boys got a little sarcastic. Oh, Dharma Victima. Oh, knowers of Dharma. You sure don't act like that, right? The cowherd boys, you know? So, they went back to report to Krishna. We failed. They made sure that they gave that first report to Krishna in a way that Balaram couldn't hear, because they were anxious. If Balaram hears what happened, he's going to get angry. And when Balaram gets angry, we can't predict the result. So they got within Krishna's ear range. Of course, Krishna can hear unlimitedly over infinite distances. But this is Leela, where Krishna acts like an ordinary human to preserve the sweetness and the spontaneity in the relationships with his friends, with his parents, with his lovers. So they say, in a low voice to Krishna's ear, we failed, we didn't get anything. They were actually angry. These guys didn't give us anything. But Krishna calmed them down. That's the way of begging, Krishna told them. Sometimes you're successful, sometimes not. But they were upset. How can you be upset and angry in Krishna Leela? It's all for Krishna's pleasure. The perfection of emotion means to use your emotions for Krishna's satisfaction. Narottam Das Thakur, mentioned in this purport, says that you can use anger, you can use lust, all for Krishna's enjoyment. You become angry at how people's opportunities to become Krishna conscious are being crushed by such a demoniac society. People are caught up in so many trips, and they think they have no time for bhakti. And they think those material ideas they're pursuing will actually bring them satisfaction. So as today's verse says so eloquently, the Brahmana is speaking. Pashyami, I can practically see. Now that is not an ordinary thing. Because, as we pointed out, Shukadeva Goswami says, Pasyanapina pashyati. The usual way material existence works is you can't see, even though it's right in front of you. Shukadeva says, you're sufficiently experienced already, lifetime after lifetime, but you still don't see what's going on. That is the power of the material experience. And even though we've been beat so many times by material nature, the taste for material enjoyment lingers in our consciousness, like a ghost haunting you. Ah, yes, this will be nice. Oh, yes, I'll do this and then that and that. We're always visualizing these haunted dreams, these dreams that haunt us. Therefore, the more you start to focus on Krishna's pleasure and acting in a way that pleases Krishna, the more you taste real happiness. So you can't fault the people for wanting to be happy. They should want to be happy, but they have no idea what is happiness. So what you're dealing with when you speak to people lost in the material illusion, what's going on is that you're dealing with their confidence that such a thing as material happiness exists. Just like, so similarly, material happiness exists. We know it's out there. We just gotta get it. And therefore, we'll work hard, we'll accumulate so much money, we'll surrender to the oppressive material nature and think it's going to reward us. So the Brahmana is saying, Pashyami, I can practically see what's going on. This is a real blessing. This is an extraordinary great fortune. He can see through the fog of Maya. I see what's going on. People are greedy to accumulate wealth, and look at the misery they go through just to get the wealth, which will not satisfy them anyway. So this is one of the themes of this chapter, that endeavors for material happiness involve suffering. You can't separate the suffering out of the endeavor. But because your mind is so hallucinating, it's hallucinating so much that even though you're suffering, you still see, oh yes, I see the happiness. Oh yes, more is going to come to me. Keep on trying. Just don't give up. This illusion dominating our consciousness prevents us from seeing the reality. Even if someone tries to tell you, it's not going to work out, you're hallucinating. You don't want to listen because you think, without that hope, what's going to become of me? So therefore, we tell people, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Now, what you know to be happiness as a bhakta is different from what they think is happiness. But still, you tell them, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. You don't, of course, if you really want to get into it, we would give some commentary. You actually don't know what happiness is, and by chanting Hare Krishna, you'll figure that out. And you'll become more aware, finally, of Krishna's pleasure. This is what the acharyas do. They're always expanding the ocean of flavor from Krishna's pleasure. We say that about the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Anandam Buddhivardhanam. What is it? They're always acting to increase the limits of the ocean of transcendental bliss. That's the job of the devotees. That's their work. Let's increase Krishna's pleasure. Let's increase the flavors that the devotees taste. That's the job of Krishna's devotee. Someone may say, you're not working. Of course, so many devotees have regular jobs. But for those in the ashram, people may criticize. What are you doing for society? You're not working. You're hard at work increasing the limits of the ocean of transcendental bliss. All right, any questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the wonderful class. I was reflecting on this point where you were saying materialistic shelter, that there is some hope that they will get material happiness. But I've seen that as new bhaktas, me personally, I find that even when I do seva, if I do not get the fruits that I was hoping for from that seva, then when I feel tired, I take shelter of material happiness. So how do we...
We're very happy that you're engaged in Krishna's service. And gradually, you'll become more aware of how by pleasing Krishna, you are automatically satisfied in the real sense. So we're not going to report you to the police for having these desires. We're not going to torture you. You have to start somewhere, you know. That's why Shukadeva Goswami says, Akama Sava Kama Va Moksha Kama Udarati. Whether you are free of all material desires, full of all material desires, lusty for liberation, never mind, engage in Krishna's service. Krishna knows how to give you therapy. Bhakti is therapeutic. It cleanses you of your attachment to material happiness and gives you a taste of Krishna's pleasure. So go on with your devotional service. You'll become purified. You don't have to beat yourself up. Oh no, I'm serving Krishna so much, but what about me? That's the feeling of a neophyte. So the purpose of your having a spiritual master is that the spiritual master teaches you how to satisfy Krishna and in that way get a taste that will crowd out your aspirations for material happiness. But in the beginning, you are considering both my happiness, Krishna's happiness. But as you engage in service and dedicated to the mission of Srila Prabhupada, as taught by your spiritual master, you slacken your grip on your own selfish conceptions of happiness. But that's all going to be there in the beginning. I remember as a brand new devotee, at that time the New York Temple had what they called a halfway house for persons who were not ready for the full-on brahmachari ashram. They were newcomers. So I remember in the halfway house at that time, very illustrious devotees, not me, but you had Dravida Prabhu, you had Gopi Pranadana Prabhu. And so I was living in the halfway house. I wasn't chanting 16 rounds, I was up to 13. But I asked the temple president, can I live with the devotees? So how much are you chanting? Well, 13. Well, okay. I had read Prabhupada's books 4 hours a day for 6 months straight, but my chanting was lagging. So anyway, they let me move in. So I remember Guru Puja, Prabhupada's Guru Puja had just started then. No, it actually hadn't started at that time. What he would do after greeting the deities, you would go and all pay obeisances to Prabhupada's Vyasasana. That was it. So I remember, there I was, living in the halfway house, still wearing my bell-bottom pants, high-fashion embroidered bell-bottom pants. I had bought a kurta, so I was wearing kind of a white embroidered kurta. I had cut my hair, that much I had done. Not a shaved head, but... So I remember greeting the deities and then doing full dandavats before Prabhupada's Vyasasana. And I remember thinking, Now I am fully surrendered. So what was my service? I just doing manual labor at the temple, sweeping floors. And no one asked you, what's your background? What are your skills? What are your talents? What school did you go to? No one mentioned a word. Just, here's a broom, sweep the floor. I was happy to do that. I thought it was wonderful to be free of all material designations, all of the parties. And then we would go out on Harinam every day. Every day a Harinam party would go out. And so sometimes I would go with the Harinam party and rather than sleep all day. And the Harinam party would sell books and incense. At that time there was a Spiritual Sky Incense Company, a devotee business. Very beautiful packages of incense, colored turquoise, blue with pink. We thought those were the colors of the spiritual world. You could easily find a Hare Krishna temple back then because they were all painted turquoise blue with pink. Because that's the spiritual world. So on the Harinam party one day, I took some packs of incense and I sold about 10 packs of incense to the onlookers. And the temple president was watching. Ooh. He came up to me. You are a full-time Sankirtan devotee. I was been a devotee for 3 weeks. I said, full-time Sankirtan? I just joined in order to read books all day and eat Mahaprasad. I was thinking, I need a post, a service in the temple close to the altar, so when the Maha comes off the altar, I'm right there. That's what I'm thinking. A nice cushy service like in the Treasury Department. Hey, what, you want me out on full-time Sankirtan? And back then, full-time Sankirtan, book distribution, meant 7 days a week. No break. Taking a break was Maya. We had all kinds of strange concoctions floating around. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said a warm shower is Maya. Or after 10 years of eating prasad, your whole body becomes Mahaprasad. Yeah, we all took this, this is the gospel truth. Yeah. And after 15 years of brahmacharya, your memory becomes perfect. You never forget anything, you remember everything. So anyway, we began in that way. Some are other Krishnas making something out of us. So Krishna will make something out of you. Just go on serving Krishna under guidance, and gradually our motivation will change. We'll become more elevated. So I was speaking about the cowherd boys because they're showing the perfection of motivation. Even when they're salivating, smelling food in the air. Oh, this is going to be good for Krishna. Anything else? Yes?
In this chapter, Maharaj, generally there is a question by, I think, Prahlad Maharaj and also the Brahmana. So, Prahlad Maharaj is asking question that you are a good Brahmana, you are looking so good, effulgent, you don't do any work for your living, you are so healthy and wealthy, and you are so brilliant. How is that? You don't do any material jobs, you don't do any duties, but you are so happy. So, Prahlad Maharaj is asking this question to this Brahmana. I was wondering that now there are certain types of devotees who are not very active in our Sankirtan, but they want to do bhajan, they want to do more in reading and hearing, but they are not too active in devotional service. So, but still they are happy. So now sometimes we have debate among them. No, Prabhupada said, no, we should only do more work now, samadhi later. So what do you points in this context.
We are followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Excuse me, can you repeat the question so we understand what's the question and the answer?
He's asking about devotees who are, according to him, focused on their own bhajan and not about giving Krishna to others. He was saying, according to his perception, such devotees as bhajanandis or wannabe bhajanandis seem happy. We don't criticize such devotees, but at the same time, it is a fact that we are followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who said, wherever you go, whomever you meet, teach the science of Krishna. On my order. So as Prabhupada would explain so many times, that order of Mahaprabhu is the same as Krishna saying, Sarvadharma Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So Krishna says, surrender to me, abandon all your conceptions of Dharma. That same Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, wherever you go, whomever you meet, teach the science of Krishna. The both statements are the same. Bas, finished. Anything else? Yes.
So we see from we can see how now the Prabhupada disciples, a lot of them are in their retired stage, and it seems material.
This is Bhakta Moses speaking. He says, we see that a lot of Prabhupada disciples are in their retirement. Now Bhakta Moses will continue.
And it seems materially that they're not taken care of, and they've done so much.
It seems materially that they are not taken care of.
But we know that they've done so much.
But we know that they've done so much.
So seeing that, it might seem discouraging for us.
Seeing that, it might seem discouraging for whom?
For the newer devotees.
For the young devotees.
And so how do we justify maybe setting ourselves up for retirement?
How do we justify setting ourselves up for retirement?
While trying to fit Krishna and see how he would be pleased with that.
While trying to see how Krishna can be pleased. So this is the question by Bhakta Moses. First of all, who is not being taken care of? You may not be living in a mansion, you may not have 2 cars, but we don't know of any devotee who's starving. We don't know of any devotee who doesn't have a roof over their head. You may be just living in one room, but you have something. So what do you mean by being taken care of? What level of opulence? I've seen how when there's some medical problem with some older Prabhupada disciple, immediately so many come together and contribute. So I think you should not worry. Now, you may not be living in a mansion as an older Prabhupada disciple, but you have the simple, basic needs met. So you can chant Hare Krishna, hopefully do more than chant Hare Krishna, hopefully help others to chant Hare Krishna. So don't worry. How old are you?
31.
Moses is 31. So we hope you have many decades ahead of you of full service. And then when your body breaks down, you can't do anything, you just chant Hare Krishna.
We can't listen to the question, so we are not relating to your answers, please.
I repeated his question, Mataji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.